the fact that he was part of the committee that worked on the abolition of the death penalty in Ghana. Yes, the recent abolition of death penalty in Ghana. Francis was part of the committee that worked on that, amongst all the other things that he has done. And I'm also very happy to say that I actually sat next to him in law school many years ago. That was between 2008-2010 when we were both reading our professional law course in the Ghana Law School. So he just has something to tell us, and I'll be handing over the microphone to him.
Thank you very much, Susie. In fact, listening to that whole bio humbles me a lot, because I know that the little things that we do here is what gives people. The little things that we do here is what give people the reason to rise to positions like that of mine. Because without social work, without intervention, this would have meant nothing. Particularly when I served many years on the street. There were many people on the street that today have passed away. Those who have been imprisoned, those who have gone through all kinds of addictions, but because of a major intervention by the Village of Hope Orphanage of the Churches of Christ, my life turned around. And I'm so happy and proud that even in a conference like this, I came to meet my own brothers and my sisters, and we are connected together, and that is why I want to make these quick remarks. My remarks is titled, The Nexus Between Servant Leadership, Good Governance and Development. And I propose to do this in about 5 minutes or 7 minutes, so that if you have any Q&A, we can do that before I leave. Now, when you read, most social works are underpinned by values in either scripture or in the Holy Quran. But those of us who are Christians, we will always want to use Jesus' model for being a servant leader, where Jesus says that if you want to lead, then you would have to serve. So whilst we serve in the various underserved communities, you are rather the leader and not those who lord things over you, but those who are down there and paying attention to the things and areas that society has ignored. Please, next slide. So when we come to Africa today, and I'm glad that after this session there is another session on how government must get involved, because it's so important, because most of the things we do are governed by people who sometimes have not had the experiences that we have. They've not been to the underserved communities. So when you are even making budgetary requirements, they don't see, why are you demanding so much for just a medical outreach? Why are you demanding so much for childcare? Because they do not understand. And today, the challenges that we have in Africa, slavery, the underserved communities, and so on and so forth, are because you have leaders who are not servant leaders. Because if you are a servant leader, you lead from behind. So you ensure that what you do at the top affects those who are beneath, and that is the challenge we have in Africa today. You can continue, please. Next slide. And in sub-Saharan Africa, all of us are mostly described as deprived communities or underserved communities. And truly, when you drive from here to Accra, Agbogbloshi, or I just returned from Dakar, when you look at how people are struggling, you realize that indeed the definition of the sub-African Saharan condition is apt. Let's go on to the next one. Next slide. And so, why is there a nexus between servant leadership and development? When you read the definition of development, it basically means providing opportunities for others to survive. Putting the right structure so people can survive. People can get their basic food, their basic water, and their medical conditions are affected. Unfortunately, our leaders have not been able to do that. So every day we have food security or food insecurity. Every time we have water issue. Every time the rains come, there are floods. The governance architecture that is supposed to plan these things do not exist, because governance is not seen by people from those who are underserved. It is seen by those who are strong, powerful, who can invest their money. So what they think about governance is what they can get out of governance, not the legacy they leave as a result of the care they give to people. Let's move on. We can move on. So governance is a manner in which power is exercised, and in the manner of a country's economic and social resources for development. So long as we don't do governance this way, there's a challenge. So eventually you realize that even in our individual CSOs, we also need to understand that our governance structure must be the same, so that the essence for which you are in a CSO is not to lord power over people, but you are there to serve. I've worked with many NGOs where there are problems with even leadership structure, where directors were fighting, that was leading to the closure of some of those NGOs. There were NGOs where members of the management team betrayed members of the board, causing all kinds of problems. But anyone who chooses to be a social worker must know that you are there for only one reason: to be a servant leader and to lead from beneath. Please, let's go ahead. Yes, so good governance justifies those things. So anytime you see that you are challenged by your work, then you must know that then you are having a challenge of good governance, whether it's at political level or it's at the NGO level. Next one, please. We can go ahead. So I won't talk too much about the concept of leadership, because most of us are very familiar with the concept of leadership. But essentially, the ability to decide what is to be done and then to get others to want to do it. For me, that is very significant. As we go out there, you see street kids, you see people abused. What comes to mind is that, how do I get this done? And how do I get people to get it done? And that is what matters. Please, let's move on. Now, who then is a servant leader? The servant leader is one who is a servant first. So the first thing you ask yourself that, so this business that we're doing, this CSO job you are doing, am I a servant first? Anytime you see yourself in a power position rather than the service you came to do, then it means that you are losing it. But there are many people who do that. The essence of they becoming a CSO members, and people who say that, or maybe when we come together we can source for fund, and when we source for fund we can do A, B, C, D. Once you begin to think from that direction, you have gotten it wrong. Your direction must first be, how do I serve? Where do I serve from? And how later can that service begin? Once you are thinking in that direction, it means that you are becoming a servant leader. Next slide. So this is a very important definition. So I'll just pause on it. It says that the servant leader begins with a natural feeling that one wants to serve, and to serve first. Then conscious choice brings one to aspire to lead. The difference manifests in itself in the care taken by the servant first, to make sure that other people's highest priority needs are being served. The best test is that, do those served grow as persons? Do they, while being served, become healthier, wiser, freer, more autonomous, more likely themselves to become servants? And what is the effect? Would they affect on the least privileged in society? Would they benefit at least, that I can't read well from here, or at least not be further deprived? So that's the question. And once you answer this question, you know you are becoming a servant leader. Next slide. And so these are the attributes: listening, empathy, healing, awareness, persuasion, conceptualization, foresight, stewardship, commitment to the people's growth, and building community. And these are so fundamental to you as a servant leader. Well, Jesus as a model of servant leadership, I will just leave it there. You know, he washed the feet of their disciples. So that's the first thing he did. He came to serve, not to be served. That's what he said. And he said he sought out to the marginalized. He showed compassion to crowds when he sees them. He fed the hungry. He showed mercy to the broken. Whilst compassionate, reinforced personal responsibility. And these are key things that we must carry along as persons working in this area. And so there is definitely a nexus between servant leadership, good governance, and development. Because a servant leader will always guarantee good governance. And once there's good governance, we can guarantee development. And that is the nexus. So we can move on. No, let's go to the next slide. Yes, next slide. This one just explains it further. Next slide. So I'll share something briefly about how I sought to do this as a servant leader, and then I'll bring this session to an end. The first slide. So that is me. I was born with hope into a hopeless world, because I couldn't choose my parents. Many of the people you see on the street couldn't choose their parents. They couldn't choose their status in life. They could not choose their economic status. They could not choose their families. Of course, if they said I should choose my family now, I think apart from Donald Trump, I can choose. I think I'll prefer Obama. I mean, you know. So I was basically born a victim. Born a victim. Nobody chose it. I was born a victim. Next slide. And I was a victim because my mother was a slave girl. When they gave birth to my mother, she was given to the shrine as Trokosi. And my mother lived in the shrine for 17 years and had to run away from the shrine, and had no school, had no income, and had to struggle. Unfortunately, she got involved with my dad. And in Ghana, typically, the poorer the family, the larger the family. So though they didn't have the money, only the money to produce 6 of us. You see? And so, next slide, please. And so, because of that, life as children was difficult. Our firstborn, Vinolia, became blind. She was not born blind. She only had measles. My parents thought that they were being bewitched by the Trokoshi shrine, and she became blind. By the time they said this, she has a distorted cornea. Our second-born, Lisbeth, began school, but after JHS dropped out of school, and I was a third. And in order to survive the street, we took to the street selling everything sellable. So life, we can survive life. Next slide. So mother born in slavery, father uneducated, these are fundamental facts of the family. So if you look at yourself in this social circumstance, you ask yourself, what hope do you have to life? And there are many in conditions like this, and others living in worse conditions. And so if caregivers are left out of the equation, then the world will go nowhere. Next slide, please. So because of the fetish beginning, so that was me sitting there. We were even indoctrinated to fetish shrines. So when you look at my face, you can see marks. These marks were made in a shrine. So you had no choice. Next slide, please. Food was one of the most difficult things, to the extent that we go into the garbages to look for food to eat. I recall one day I was so hungry that I was walking by someone's backyard and saw a very nicely ripe mango. We jumped over the wall with the intention to pluck the mango. If it were today, as a lawyer, they will charge me for unlawful entry and I'll go to prison. But this man chased us very well and we ran out of the house. We didn't even get the mango to eat. Next slide. Next slide. So water was even a luxury. And that is why when I see CSOs who are also in water, I feel so excited. Because as at those days, I remember this was a style that if you want to go and steal water, that's what you do. You do it this quickly and run away. One day I did this. My uncle used hammer to hit my head that you are spoiling the water. Next slide. So life was miserable. There was no hope. And so there were many times I used to sleep at the Malata market. The Malata market, sell it before the intervention of the village. Next slide. We finish. This was me in JHS after the intervention of the village of Hope Orphanage. Yes, next slide. Then I became senior boys prefect of St. John's Grammar. And 3 more minutes, we are done. When I became senior boys prefect of St. John's Grammar School, I was still sleeping in a kiosk. Please show me the kiosk. I just want them to see it. Oh, that was me. So love lifted me. That was what when the village of Hope came into our life. So one of the books I authored is Love Lifted Me. Love lifted me. Love lifted me. When love lifted me. Love lifted me. Love lifted me. When nothing else. Love lifted me. Thank you very much, and God bless you all.
Please just stand. Please, can we give him a standing ovation? You heard from a care leaver, directly from a care leaver, and this is the impact of the work that we are doing. Please, a big round of applause for him. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir. All right, thank you so much. Thank you. I'm sure a lot of you want to ask him questions, take pictures with him. After the next panel, we'll get a chance to do that. Before I call up Isaac, as you come up, please, one more time. I saw some people with tears. If there's somebody close to you, just give them a hug, give them a back rub, and say, you're doing a good job.
You're doing a good job.
Thank you.
You're doing a good job, yeah. So the conversation, it's going to continue, and what we have just heard sets a good tone for the conversations to continue. We will have our next panel discussion in a short while. The subject is supporting youth transition using community-based, economic viable, and culturally relevant approaches. And to lead us in this panel will be another wonderful person who I'm going to introduce very soon. But we would also have a group discussion or breakout after that session, and for that purpose we want to quickly meet the leaders of the various group discussions before we start that particular session. So please, if you hear your name, kindly meet Yoni at the other side of the curtain. That's to my left, please. Mr. Abdul Rahman Idrisu, Miracle Damaka, Emmanuel Mafo, Ronki Oyelaki, I hope I pronounced it right, and then Ke Ronke, okay, Ronke, okay, thank you. And then Mr. Sibilu Boja, please, we want to meet all of you shortly at the left side of the curtain. Now back to our panel discussion for today. The one leading us is also a great product of the village. To introduce to you Mr. Sapa. Take over and present his panel.
Good afternoon to us all. Good afternoon. Okay, so I'm going to moderate a session on supporting youth transition using community-based, economically viable, and culturally relevant approaches. And to do this with me, we are going to have 4 people who would be panelists. I would call them up here and we will start the discussions. So one, we have Mr. Alex Niwon from Liberia. Let's give him a hand of applause as he comes. Then we have Mrs. Baba Amwa. Mrs. Baba Amwa is the owner and director of Beanstalk Montessori School. She's a passionate educator and advocate for inclusive education with over 20 years experience as a teacher and special education needs specialist. She founded Beanstalk Montessori to create learning spaces where every child, regardless of ability, feels seen, supported, and empowered. So we have this Baba Amwa. Then we have Dr. Samuel Edifa, right? Is that correct? Dr. Samuel Edifa. He is the director or head of Alternative Care Units, the Federal Ministry of Women's Affairs, Nigeria. Then lastly, we have Ms. Ene Oklu. Ms. Ene. I'm sure most of us know Ene, and she is with the Trauma Free World, right? So, as I said earlier, our discussion is on supporting youth transition using community-based, economically viable, and culturally relevant approaches. As we all know, family-based care does not end when a child turns 18 or is returned to the family. That is actually when the work begins. And across Africa, we have so many children who are transitioned each and every year. And these children are people who have so much resilience, potential, and power. But as they are transitioned, they face a lot of challenges. Some of them are unemployment, housing insecurity, weak social support systems, limited mentorship. So today our discussion will focus on some of these challenges, and we'll look at the topic in broad to see how we can support youth transitioning using community-based systems, economically viable systems, and culturally relevant approaches. So, you are welcome. All right. So, I'll ask a question for which I would want all the panelists to give us their view on it in just 1 minute. Then after that, I'll ask specific questions to specific people based on your field or your country. So in just 1 minute, can you share with us what the biggest challenge is facing young people who have been transitioned from care? It can be from your country or the field in which you are in. What is one major challenge that young people face as they are being transitioned from care to their various places? Anyone can start.
One of the challenges one of the challenges they face when they want to transition is they have economic challenges. They lack support economically to stand on their own. You know, they have been in the institution. Now to begin to take care of themselves, you know, it's like everything is new. Like one of the speakers said the other time, he said, a child that is not used to going to eat in the restaurant, is not used to going to buy things in the market, suddenly he say, okay, just go. How is he going to manage it? So economic, or do I call it socio-economic problems? Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. So in my experience, mostly, just as he said, it's integrating into the society, meeting other people and how to relate with them. It's also a little bit overwhelming when you've been sheltered, when you are in a home, and then all of a sudden you are out there. So that is quite a lot of challenge for them. Some of them also, when they are outside and they are free, nobody is telling them, hurry up and go. And so timekeeping, especially in Ghana, timekeeping is one of the hardest things ever, because no one is calling a rising bell, get up, go. When you are alone, they tend to sleep, and we have what we call Ghana time. And some of us, although we are in Ghana, we don't do Ghana time. So that's a very huge challenge for me.
Thank you.
Okay, so in respect to our context in Liberia, over the years, we've considered two major things. One is building relationship. They lack building relationship outside the walls of the orphanage or the institution. And then the second cardinal thing is the area of what we call community transformation. They don't know how to get reintegrated into a society that they have been away from over sometimes 18 years, some of them 10 years. So those two things are basically challenges for children who are aging out or about to age out. Yeah.
So I'm going to be talking from the trauma-informed aspect, and there's something I really like to say. I say wounded children do not disappear. They grow up, and then they are integrated into a system that we're trying to manage. And this is transition. So what happens when they're transitioned into the community? One huge problem that I've noticed with young adults that are being transitioned into the workspace and the community is there's a lot of big behavior that you see, that we see, and then we label it as problem. So most of the time, these young adults are not able to hold down a job. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you. So just a follow-up on that. Now, many transition programs are focused on vocational and economic independence. From a trauma-informed perspective, what critical emotional or psychological needs are overlooked?
That's a good question. I think one of the speakers mentioned it yesterday. One of the greatest things that is overlooked, again, we don't want to water down the skill building exercise that these children were giving to them, but one thing that they lack is attachment. One intentional, consistent, and supportive adult that believes in them, that can hold their hands, that can mentor them to show them the way, is one thing that is lacking in our society today, especially with children that have gone through complex developmental trauma. If we can find these young adults, these consistent adults to be in their lives, I think they can build great resilience and hope for tomorrow.
Okay. So attachments is a problem, right? That's a major problem. So how do unresolved trauma and lack of belonging affect a young child even after the person has been transitioned from a home or a care unit?
Unresolved trauma. Unresolved trauma affects a person holistically. It's not just in one area. It's when trauma happens, it affects us holistically. So it shows in behavior patterns, it shows in the way that we communicate, it shows in the way that we connect, it shows up in every area of our lives. So one thing that I would say when it comes to transitioning is, for a lot of institutions that have homes, now we are taking on the visions that we need to transition children back to families, because that is the plan of God for children. However, we don't have to go too fast. It is not how fast, it is how well we go through the process of reintegrating kids back into families. What are the processes that we're going through? How are we looking for the best families for these children? How are we empowering the families? How are we making sure that, someone said it earlier, that we are collaborative, we're taking the bold move, and we are, he said, be bold, be collaborative, and be persistent. One issue that we are facing is that, especially for us in Nigeria, and it breaks my heart. I'm sitting in this room and my director of Back to Back is speaking, and we are seeing on the news how 15-year-old boys are going into field and carrying guns because this is the orientation that they have. Then let's hope that somehow a miracle happens and then they come into our care and we're saying, oh, the institution is not the best place, so let's reintegrate them back. How are we supporting the families that are willing to take these children with the right resources that they need? And when I say resources, I do not just mean financial resources. Again, it is very important. But how are we empowering them to truly understand the impact of trauma, so that when they see a behavior, in trauma-informed care we say you become curious instead of furious. You're not mad at the behavior, but then you're asking the question, what happened here? Not what is wrong with you. Once we start becoming curious, when we see a behavior, when we notice something, then we are connecting, and then we're giving the right kind of help that is not hurting.
Okay, thank you. So caregivers, institutions here, we've just learned that the how is very important. How is very important. The process is more important. If you see a behavior, you question it and take steps towards it. One last question for you. Are we right to say we are pushing young adults into independence too early, or we are really going through the right processes?
That's another very good question. Because of the rooms that have been opportuned to enter, I'm going to answer this question. So the rooms that have been opportune to enter, I will say they are doing the background work. They are checking, they are learning, they are collaborating, they are sourcing. So for this room that I've been in, I would say maybe they are not too fast. But now, I can say this because they are aware and they know the best practice for the child and the best processes to take on before reintegrating young adults into families and society. However, what about those that do not know? Some of us do not know better. We say if you know better, you do better. Some institutions do not know better. So it's a yes and a no, but then we need more collaboration into learning and fixing where the problem is. So.
Okay. I want to add to what you said. Just like you said, it's very funny in Africa. You say a child, according to most of our constitutions, you say anybody above 18 is no longer a child, isn't it? So above 18, you should transition by fire, by force. Permit me to use that term. But now, I have a 23-year-old boy in my house who refused to transition. What do we do? Wait.
So you're the panel and you're not asking me a question.
No,
But I'm going to speak.
I'm not asking. I want to help you out.
Okay.
I am only helping you.
All right.
Because, you see, sometimes we should be able to, I prefer to adapt rather than to adopt. Are you following? Because if you say, once you stop being a child, you should transition. There are some late developers.
Yes.
So because of these late developers, if you say, let them transition at 18, they may go and hit the rock. Like I said, in my own house, I don't run an orphanage. I have a young boy. His twins had finished university. She has served, and she's trying to get a job for herself. But he has refused. What do I do? And I'm the father. Are you going to blame me?
No, I will not. I will not blame you. Like I earlier stated, trauma impacts us holistically. And trauma can start even from the womb. Is that when it's early, it's more horrible. And I tell you that we work with children that are 22-year-old that are behaving like 10-year-old. It is because the brain is not fully developed, or rather still, is still developing. Now research is saying the brain can heal over time. However, we need the attachment. You need that one consistent, caring adult that will not see those big behavior and think that it's a problem. But we intentionally and consistently invest time with this person for the brain to be able to heal and develop. So yes, sir, she's 22, she's not ready to move on, she's still having attachment issue. It is communicating something. Every behavior that our children and people throw at us is communicating something. That is why we have to become curious, ask questions, spend time, connect, just engage them. And again, nobody heals on our own timeline. She can be your children, but trauma-informed care is good for everyone, not just children that we tag traumatized.
Okay. I hope we are learning something from this discussion. So, Annette, thank you very much. I'll move to Ms. Amon. So, from education aspects, how can schools and educational systems young people in care so that when they leave their care or when they leave care, they would be independent and they will live meaningful lives after have been taken out of alternative care systems?
So usually I would say we start from right when they are younger. For specialized in Montessori. For Montessori, we have activities for everyday living. How to take care of yourself, how to organize your time, organize yourself. Also, as they are growing, you need to look at where they shine best. We have different types of learners. We have people who veer towards the vocationals, who are artists, everybody has their own talent. So we need to look at their talent and train them for that aspect. Also, institutions can also do where they go to different places, different workplace for work experience whilst they are in school. So when you start early, my daughter is 14 and she comes to my school to work. So, and she gets something for it. Not a lot of salary, but she gets something. And it's actually training her mind as to what she wants to be when she grows up. So when we are able to integrate the children into other businesses to do practice, they go for attachment when they are on long vacation. It's actually helping them to decide, oh, okay, I actually like when I went to this school. I would love to work with this school, with children, or I want to work with my fingers. I want to make baskets, those who are artists and all. So before they are even coming out of school, they know where they are going to go. Some of the institutions that they would have gone for attachment might say, oh, we will want to retain this person because they showed a lot of promise. So if institutions will work with the people in their community. I have one lady at my workplace. She is not from an orphanage, but she's from a needy home. And when I saw her result, one of my teachers brought her and said, look at this girl's result. Everything was A's. And do you know what she was doing? She was going around washing people's clothes with her mother. So I said, let her come and see me. She came, I said, what do you want to do? She's interested in education. I said, okay, so you will work and go to school. She's in her final year in the university. She's about to come out. And because she is so, like, she's the mother's only child and everything, no, don't do this. So she's not very confident. So I'm trying to get her to be confident. I said, when you finish, you work for 2 years and you go and do your master's. No, I can't. How will I do that? I say, she's brilliant. She can do everything. But the confidence is not there because of her upbringing. Had she maybe come to me earlier, I could have worked better to instill her confidence. So these are some of the things that schools need to do. The confidence for the children, right from the orphanage and everything. You put the confidence in them, they go out there, look for because a lot of jobs are willing to take children and do things with them. They have projects, different places. I've taken children to a restaurant where they were doing hydroponic systems to grow things, and I took them there and they did it. So finally, and this thing is good coming here, because through my research, I went to those 2 children's home and I was asking, is it possible for me to take someone? I've never done it. I don't know why I haven't done it. Is it possible for me to take someone who is interested in taking care of kids, so that we can help the child to go on and they go to school and all? So if the homes themselves can go out to the schools and other businesses in the community, so that the children can go and do attachment, it will really help them when they go out there.
Okay, thank you very much, Mrs. Baba. Now I'll move on to Dr. Edifa for the sake of time. What policy gaps currently exist across Africa regarding aftercare and transition support?
Come again, sorry.
What policy gaps? Are there any gaps in policy with regards to transitioning youths from care to their respective families? Is there any gaps in policy?
Well, when we talk about transitioning youths, before now, I would say there was really nothing. We were just in a zoo-like situation. You just do whatever you want to do, however you want to do it. But recently, with the advent of alternative care, we are beginning to see that there is need to prepare these children that will soon become youths to be able to transition properly, educationally, even within their immediate community. That's what we are preaching. Within your community, there are things you can do that can help you to transition. Could be sports, could be music, anything. You just do something that will make you become attached to that your community. The community will be willing to, assist you the best way they can within their own limited resources, and they will get the best out of that particular child.
Okay, thank you. One question for Alex. So I want you to speak from the Liberian perspective. From your experience in Liberia, What community-based approach have been most effective in supporting young transitioning from care?
Okay, so I think what we are intentional about back home is the issue of networking and collaboration. With our experience over the years, I'm talking about almost about 22 years, with all the orphanages, about 103 of them, the government recognized about 64 of them based on standard, but we have relationship with these orphanages, and we realize all the children that are aging out or have already aged out have become the case study of the children who are to age out. And if we don't recognize the relevance of stakeholders within communities from the community level, it takes the children right back into the institution, or it takes them back into intentional but forced adult living. What I mean by that is that when they don't see the clear picture of where they are going, well, our family was prepared, or whatever support they were to get to go to high school or to college, they end up going back with friends and they become vulnerable. So the best approach that we believe is necessary is not just to look at the government. We are talking about practice. The policy is there. So the practice at the community level is to engage stakeholders in the community. And that's why through our CTAA and other resource area, we are talking about how we can collaborate, how we can network to bring these orphanages together, prepare them so as to be able to understand it is your responsibility to make sure before these children reach the age of 18, you have a blueprint for them. If they cannot be towards independent living, then you, the institution, the orphanage, you should have a transition plan. And that is why we are currently providing consultancy with the Ministry of Gender Children section, so as to help provide this information. Because if we don't do them, churches, schools, right, universities, athletic groups that should be able to mentor these children will not mentor them, will not provide substance support for them, because the children don't know where to go. And one of the problems I already have, I don't know if it's happening here, but we have issue in Liberia where orphanage directors or CCRs are soliciting support for building this building structure and other things rather than providing alternative options. So we recommend that you need to put your investment into preparing these children before they age out of the system. Because if you don't have that investment mechanism put into place, the children will very well stay in the orphanage. And they are 18, 19, 20, 22. So the community level is where stakeholders are available, resources and resource centers are available. So the orphanage directors or heads should be able to engage individuals or institutions like us who have the pathway or referral pathway to help them meet the kind of people, rather than to just think on the government coming to help and the government will not really come.
Thank you very much. So just ending on that, the other three panelists, what is one act governments, institutions, or communities must take to better transitioning from care of these youths? What would you say? So in that angle. So for the other three, I would want you to share with us just one action that either governments, institutions, or communities must take to better transitioning of these children from wherever they find themselves.
For better transitioning to happen, every policy must be trauma informed. Thank you.
Can I go? Yes. Okay. For me, there are new policies coming. As I speak, we are working on reviewing all the policies that has to do with children in Nigeria. Sandra can ascertain that all the commissioners and the directors are in Abuja working on that. But there is something I said whenever I see Sandra, and I'm going to say it now publicly, that, you know, when I was growing up I also was part of the alternative care stuff. When I was growing up in Lagos, I was part of, the school run by Irish missionaries. Decided to do something. We had what we call inter-house sports and music stuff for everybody. And that way, they were able to mix those of us that were transitioning to an extent. You learn how to do something, and the society also picks you up from there. So I hope to see an nursing home that will begin to run community level. So I think I want to see that happen.
On, and sometimes even children can befriend people, and parents, do you know what they are from? They are from the orphanage and stuff. I think parents should actually make it a culture to take their children to orphanages, read with the children, be friends. And I also think that businesses should be open, can have a starting point. Thank you.
Okay, thank you too. So this brings us to the end of our discussion, and I think the discussion has just made it clear that youth transitioning is not just a one-day event, it's a process. And for us to be able to achieve any effective results, we need to be intentional about how we plan these things. So we thank our panelists so much. For the sake of time, I asked a lot of questions out to wrap it up over here, and if anyone has any questions, please you can ask before our panelists get up.
Thank you very much, our panelists. I'll humbly plead, because of time, we want to take the next session, the next discussion, then after that, we can together discuss the questions. So thank you very much, Sapa and your team. Let's give them a round of applause. We are going to have another quick session of panel discussion on the subject of focusing on strengthening collaboration across governments, civil society, and partners to drive coordinated regional reforms. To help us in this session is Mr. Ade Olowo. Yes, my friend and partner, our friend and partner.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We're soon going to round up very, very soon. So thank you for your patience. So to join me on the stage, I invite Stephen back on the stage. Stephen Usembe, who's the African Regional Director for Hope and Homes in Kenya. I invite my friend Mr. Obed Masese, who's a researcher and Executive Director for Victory Child Empowerment. And also I invite Ms. Louisa Cox, who's the head of programs for Martin James Foundation, to join me on stage also. And also my friend Kenneth from BEB to join me on stage. Put your hands together for them, please. Can see, ladies. Yeah, they're all putting on red and everything. All right, so we're going to be discussing strengthening collaboration across government, civil society, and partners to drive coordinated regional reforms. It seems like we have heard from everybody, so how do we end in bringing all these things together? And so we're very excited to, I'll be asking them some specific questions. And so maybe before, because I know I've worked with almost all of you, so I'll be very specific. So I'll start with Stephen. I know you are very big in advocacy, because I know you like to travel, work with government, and so I would like to ask you, Stephen.
Several, but let me start with one is that they see as if their work is different instead of seeing each other as complementing one another. And for me, that sort of really creates challenges, because the work of the CCIs or the orphanages is actually supposed to complement the government's policies. And so the government itself, its work is actually oversight and coordination and all that. And so for me, it's really difficult and also disheartening to see them sort of seeing themselves as different. Yeah, that's the first one.
Thank you so much, and I'll come back to you to see what's the way forward. Now, Obed, you are a researcher. Part of it was to research, do some research, and I know in the past 2 years you have done extensive work in researching about 10 organizations across Africa, because I think one of the things that has been very fundamental that we have seen is that when organizations are trying to raise funds, one of the things they try to ask them is that what is the proof, right? We don't have Africa-led solutions. Most of the time you find out researchers come from the US, from the UK, and research in Africa. And I know you went specifically as an African researcher to some of these organizations. Number one, as an African researcher, when you contacted some of these organizations, I know at first they were, who are you? Were you accepted? Did these organizations accept you? Did they understand what you are trying to do? And how did you overcome that is a relationship that you had to even go in and research their work as an African researcher?
Thank you, Ade. And I think there is a lot. There is a lot I've learned. I've been in 7 countries in Africa, covering 9 organizations. And what I've learned is that local problems need local solutions. And there is a big disconnect between research and practice. So there is a big gap between evidence and outcomes. So most of the interventions we have, they are not grounded on evidence.